Well, welcome everyone. You're here at Real Moms. I'm Cylindra Buller, the host. And today we have Paulette. Paulette is an accomplished children's author, a mother, a mentor, a speaker, and a registered nurse who is a psychotherapist. And boy, are we going to have some incredible information to share with anyone out there who wants to go into children's book writing, and also just to take some pointers from Paulette. She's well lived, well traveled, and welcome, Paulette. How are you?
Oh, hi, Cylindra. I am really well today. It's a very happy. I woke up this morning and I was laughing. So
Oh,
it was a good
well,
day.
this is a good thing. Any day that you're awake and you're laughing, you couldn't ask for more. That means things are going right.
Yes.
So, Paulette, tell us a little bit about yourself. Take us on a bit of a journey. Who was Paulette growing up? How was childhood? And what made you become the author that you are today?
Oh, it's very interesting. Well, I grew up in a very tiny little town in rural Saskatchewan, Rokeby, Saskatchewan. No one's ever heard of it.
Mm.
And so it was a tiny little village, and I loved being outside. There was a little pond that was just about half a block from my home. And it's funny to say blocks because, the village was so small that the street was just like a rectangle. My
Mm.
dad owned the general store. He was the postmaster. So I always would say that everybody laughed and called him the mayor of Rokeby, and I always laughed, and people would ask me who I was, and I would say I'm the crown princess of Rokeby, Saskatchewan. So
Wow.
I used to love going out and sitting on this little pond. There was and talking to the pollywogs and just spending my time in nature. And also then in the wintertime, I loved being under the stars.
Mm.
I just loved being up on the snowbanks and under the stars. I always knew that there was something very magical and very powerful that was around us. I just knew that from a child.
Wow. And were you the only child, or did you have
So
siblings as well,
I
Paulette?
had a sister. I had an older sister. And but my sister was very intelligent. She was brilliant, and so we never really went to school together, even though we were just a couple of years apart,
Mm.
because she accelerated so fast. And
Mhm.
so I think I went to school in a one-room country school. They don't have them anymore. Um, and so I think I only spent a couple of years with her, and then she was off to high school.
Wow.
She went to university when she was, 15, I think. She's
Unheard
brilliant.
of. Unheard of.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Now,
I think she was 16. No, she was 16 when she went to university.
so what was the big contributing factor to your sister's success and to your success,
Um,
becoming an author?
um, I think actually it was my father.
Your father.
My, my father, an interesting man, a challenging man.
Mm.
He spoke 5 languages. He could sign. He used to say he could
Sign
sign.
language. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just a known that we had to go to university. Um, I don't think it was never stated to us that we had to go, but we just knew that we had to go and we had to further our education. And
And was that because he was an accomplished man himself that you felt like that was going to be your path no
I
matter
don't
what?
know. I don't know because he wasn't. I mean, he ran the general store and the post office, so it wasn't like he was an intellectual,
Mm.
but he was brilliant. Like he would help my sister with her university math, and my dad only went to grade 7, I think, in school.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was brilliant in that way. So, but it was just a given that
Did he,
we had to go.
well, was, did you feel that there was a value that he was instilling without you knowing? Like, was it?
Probably,
Mm,
probably it was that education was really, I think, because both my mother and my father had to quit school when they were, before they got to grade 12, they had to because they had to go to work.
mm-hmm,
And I think, and my grandfather was a school teacher, my mother's father. And
mm-hmm,
so education was just really important.
mm.
I think because they wanted to make sure that their children got the education that they didn't get.
Right, right. Now, you yourself are a mother.
I am.
Um, speak to us about that.
Oh, mothering, what a wonderful, wonderful experience to be a mom. I remember when I found out I was pregnant. I remember waking up one morning and just saying, my very best friend in the universe has come to visit me and be with me. And
Isn't that beautiful?
it was just beautiful. And I know when she was born, she was just, I remember my husband's friends used to say to him, you better keep that girl pregnant. She's glowing,
Ah,
So I loved being pregnant, and I love being a mother. It's not that
mm,
I loved, because I'm still a mom, and even though my daughter is well, you know, off on her own and married and living in Europe, I love being a mother. I love the connection. I love um, the experience of having this little being that you're in charge of, and protecting and helping them through life. I remember my daughter, I wasn't a milk and cookies mom. I
mhm,
wasn't the mom that was at home making all the cookies and cooking meals and doing all that. I had a little bit of that in me, but not much. So,
mhm.
and she wanted one. And I said to her, I'm so sorry, honey. I'm not a milk and cookies mom. I'll take you to McDonald's for lunch, but we'll talk about what's in your heart, because you must follow your heart. So I was more one of those moms that, you have to know what's in your heart, and you have to follow your heart no matter what. And she has.
Isn't that wonderful? And there's so many moms out there. They are so overwhelmed. They feel like that it is the biggest job and it is the most difficult job that there is out there.
Hmm.
What do you feel? Is that different than when you were a mom? Has
Oh,
that changed, do you think, over time,
yeah.
or is that just mentality?
I think, no, I think that things have changed, because when I was a mom, well, my husband died when my daughter was 13 months old. So I was a single mom before it was in vogue to be single moms,
Hmm.
and so I had to go to work. And um, I remember I bought a house in Calgary when Kim was 2, and I moved to Calgary. And I was the young widow on the street, and all the stay-at-home moms were there with
Hmm.
their kids, and
Hmm.
I had to go to work. And it was very different, because it was hard. It was hard,
Hmm.
and because I was trying to be both, and I was trying to be three things. I was trying to be mom and dad, and that was really difficult. But I think so. When I was a young mom, it most moms weren't working.
And what were you doing at that time
I
as
was
mom?
As mom, I was nursing. I was
You
at
were a nurse.
I was at Foothills Hospital. I was the clinical nurse specialist on psychiatry at that time, and the staff development nurse. And
Mm.
so at first I was working shifts, and oh, night shift was hard. And she would come to the bed and wake me during the day. Her babysitter wouldn't have been looking after her well. And she would say, wake up, mommy. And I'd say, honey, I'm awake, I'm awake. And she'd say, no, wake up on the floor, mommy, wake up on the floor.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was hard for her. But I think moms today, because it's so socially, um, it's socially accepted, but also socially imposed that women should be working as well as raising their children. And so I, I really feel sorry for young moms because they've got so much they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, they have to fulfill their role as a woman and work and their career, etc., and fulfill their role as a woman, as a mom as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think they're run off their feet. And
Yeah,
they have to be a wife at the same time, most of them. And
that's
it's,
right.
oh my God. I
Well, at least you understand, right? At least you understand.
absolutely, I think
So
it's really hard for them.
let's jump into this lovely
Ah,
book. Yes, just a incredible piece of writing. Um, Tell us a little bit about this and how we
how it
came,
came about.
yeah, how it came about, because there's always a story.
There's always a story. As a therapist, as a psychotherapist, I had a private practice, and and because I came from Saskatchewan and being up on this out in the snowbanks and the stars, when I would try and see about introducing people to um, the whole concept of the universe, because in the 12-step programs they talk about the higher power, and then there's in Chinese medicine there's qi, and there's all this trying to explain it. And so I would do it simply. I would just say, because of my experience with the sky, where does the sky begin? And I would ask them those questions, and then we'd get it so that the sky was actually here in the office with you and I, and then they would finally start to see something other than themselves, that there was more around them, the energy around them. And then for those that were in recovery, they could then feel the presence of their higher power, etc. So I'd been doing that for years with my clients. And then I I was doing meditation one day. I was recovering from um, uh, treatment for breast cancer. And so my treatment was all over. I was cleared, and I was sitting meditating. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd just been introduced to Joe Dispenza and his meditations. And so I was sitting out doing this wonderful, wonderful meditation one day. And
Yes.
it was so beautiful. And I walked back into the house, because I was doing it out on the deck, walked back into the house, and I sat down at the dining room table. And all of a sudden, I grabbed there were scraps of paper around, and I grabbed a pen and I started to write. And it wasn't something I thought, oh, I'm going to write a children's book. It was just, and 20 minutes, the story was written.
Wow. Wow. Now you touched upon some key elements here. So you were challenged with breast cancer,
Yes.
and how was that experience for you?
It was, at first, it was very scary.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in shock because I always trusted my body, and my body always communicated with me very well. And I felt betrayed by my body. I thought, this couldn't happen. Like, my body wouldn't do this to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I had an appointment with a physician who was from German New Medicine, and we went through and the way German New Medicine feels about it, and it made all of a sudden it made sense to me, and I reconnected with my body, and I knew that my body was going to heal. I just knew. And so I went through all of the um, treatment that they had for me.
And was
And
that chemo and
I
radiation?
had surgery, chemo, and radiation. And they had to stop the chemo because my body was dying. And I remember they apologized because I didn't finish the last two treatments. And I just cried and hugged them and said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I didn't think I could get through it.
Yes.
But it was a challenge. But the thing that happened for me was it really, I grew up spiritually.
So there was always, yes,
Oh,
when you go through a challenge, and I know you've said this a number of times to me, when you go through a challenge, there's an opportunity for growth.
yeah,
So take
definitely.
our audience there. Take us
It was,
there with you.
it was just beautiful because I had always, um, I was a very spiritual person. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. And in the mornings, I would I'd get out of bed, and the first thing I did was get down on my knees, and I would thank God and for another day, and ask Him for something. You know what? Please add this in. And um, and it was so interesting because when I got cancer, I I sat up in bed and I said to Him, listen, I don't have time to go talking to you all the time and getting down on my knees. You do your part, and I'm going to focus on this doing mine. I can't do both right now. So you have to be there. And, I've never gotten down on my knees since. It's just like I talk to my higher power and I talk to the universe, but it's like I'm no longer a child. I was always kind of a child in that, and now I'm not. I'm a partner.
Mm.
And it's so different. It's so
And
different now.
yeah, yeah. And that's like when you and I have had numerous conversations and you say we're co-creating, Sal, we're co-creating.
Yeah.
That is the journey right there.
Yeah.
So you went through chemo and radiation and the whole nine yards, and you co-created, and then you came
And
up with
I came
this.
up. After I wrote the story,
Yes.
it was all because I've written before. I've written, and I'd published a book earlier, a
Yes.
few years earlier on sexuality, and but I'd done a lot of writing, and I have several books that I haven't published, but um, this one, I just thought, this one has to go out. I have to do this. And
Yes.
so I did.
Isn't that
I,
great?
I got in touch with a publisher and to self-publish. And I just thought, this I have to do. And so I did. And I was talking to um, one of the women that is one of the team leaders for the Joe Dispenza things, um, and I gave her one, and she loves the book, and she took it to her little boy, and her little boy loved it, and they took it to school and read it at school, and she says it's the best thing that she's ever found to introduce space to children, the concept of space to children.
And for you, that was so familiar because that was almost like your childhood and the
It
stars
was.
in the sky.
That's right. So I
Isn't
say
that beautiful?
it's almost a biography, but there
Yes.
was no Merlin for me.
Do you feel now where you are today? Are you living a purposeful life?
I believe so. Yeah. My life is as you know, Joseph says, um, are you happy? Are you what is it? Happy and fulfilled. happy and joyful and fulfilled. And I do feel that. I do.
Isn't that
And
great? Isn't
I,
that great?
I really know the joy and happy. And I talk about with my clients that there used to be this old thing called primal scream therapy, and everybody had to go through a primal scream. And I always found that for me, it's a primal chuckle. When we really get in touch with what's deep inside of us,
Mm,
it's just joy.
isn't that great?
And
Isn't that
all
great?
the other stuff is just what covers it up. And when
Mm-hmm.
we get rid of all that, I mean, what are you? You're joyful.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You know, as much as the times have changed, what's the one thing that should be taught in school that you figure that should be taught in school but isn't?
Well, when I think about what I think meditation should be taught in school, um, but there's things that I think children require, and if children have this, I believe that they will come out, they'll be able to handle anything in the world. I
Mm,
think children require structure.
mm-hmm.
They need to have structure. Get up at certain time, go to bed at certain time. They need structure. They need affirmation. They need to be affirmed.
Yes,
They need validation.
yes,
They need to have their experience validated. And they need consequences, not punishment. They need
yes,
consequences. And they need both positive and negative consequences. And a lot of
yes.
times you know, they get the negative consequences, but they also need the positive.
Mm-hmm,
And,
mm-hmm.
and they need to be treated with kindness. And if children have all of those five things,
So, but
they will,
to recap
yes,
for our audience, once again, the five things that Paulette
yes.
feels
So
are
you
necessary:
a structure,
structure,
affirmation,
affirmations,
validation,
validation,
consequences,
mhm,
and kindness.
and kindness. Now you're going to have to come up with your own acronym for that and write a book.
I think so. I think so.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
and I tell my clients, if you give that to your children,
yes.
they will be able to handle the world. Like when you tell your children you love them, tell them what it is that you love about them. That
Hmm.
affirms them. I
Right,
love how you do this. I just love the way you do this. You
right.
know, that's the way that's the way they know. Because you say love, when we say love, what do we mean by it?
That's right. And so define love for us. Define that.
Well, I think everybody has their own definition. The warm feeling we have, the open heart we have, the the kind regard we have towards someone. But I think for all of us, there are specifics about love. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think children need to know that. It's like, I love this about you. I love that about you. And then it has some meaning.
So it's more so like an action word, so a verb, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than having it defined any other way. Love
Yeah.
is a verb, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, and so I guess the next question would be, what's your definition of success?
My definition of success. Oh God, I remember doing a program years ago, Cylindrin. I it was called A Pursuit of Excellence, I think. And we
Yes.
had to write out our definition of success. And I just about started, definition of success is where I live my life, da da da. Um, I think success for me is um, being spiritual, being spiritually connected, uh, having a wonderful relationship with my daughter, having a wonderful relationship with my friends, and doing things that fulfill me. so that and I love to write. You know, I have a newsletter and I send it out with my musings every month. And I love doing that.
Mm.
So success is being able to do the things that fill my soul, that nurture me.
That are
So,
meaningful
and
beyond you. Yes.
yeah,
Wow.
and working with my clients, I love my clients. They're just, you know, they come in and they're so full of anxiety and things, and they, you know, and their lives change. Their
Mhm.
lives absolutely change, and I love that.
Mm. Mm. Yes. So what are you working towards now in your free time?
In my free time, I'm writing more. I'm I, I'm a seeker and a constant learner. So I'm always learning new things. And my daughter, I laughed. I spent Christmas and New Year's with her over in the Netherlands, and I
Mm.
sat down with her, and
Yes.
when I got there, and I said, "Oh, Kim, you'll never guess this. Oh, there's this wonderful thing." And she said, "I wondered how long it would take before you said, 'Kim, I've learned this new thing.'"
She knows what mom is about.
She
That's
knows
right.
what mom's about. You know,
Yeah.
it's like there's always something new. And I just learned this, and this is so much, and it's so exciting. And I think it's always been about knowing that there was something bigger than me, that there was I was not the biggest thing in the universe,
Hmm.
and that there was so much to learn, so much to learn, and so much to do to help people see. I kept wondering, why can't other people see this,
Yes. Yes.
you know?
Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. So after writing this beautiful Walk in the Sky, do we have a
Yeah.
follow-up coming hopefully soon?
Yes, yes, it's a first in the series, and I just have to earn enough money to get the illustrations and everything done. But I've written the second story, and I'm well into the third story.
Good for
So
you.
it's her, Polly's adventures.
I love it. Now, Polly, I hope that Polly is Paulette.
Yes,
Yes, yes, of course. Yes, no, I definitely will be reading this to my grandkids, and
oh,
I look
yes.
forward to all the other ones that you'll be bringing forward. Now, if any one of our audience members wants to get a hold of you, how would one go about that, Paulette?
If they go to my website, paulettetomasson.com,
Can you repeat that, please?
paulettetomasson.com.
Okay. And
Thomason does not have an H. Most people put an H in Thomason.
so it's
Um,
Paula, PAULETTETOMASSON
Yeah.
.com.
And
Wonderful.
they can find me that way and email me. They can sign up for my newsletter if they'd like. And they also then can click onto the book and they can purchase it. The book is that book is on Amazon. So they can get it through Amazon.
Perfect. Definitely a great, Christmas is gone, but hey,
Yes.
it's never too late to put
No.
something like this aside. And Paulette, it's been a pleasure as always, and I so look forward to the next book and our next conversation. And so thank you so much on behalf of Real Moms and, of course, our audience. I'm Cylindrin Buller, and good night.
Thank you, Sal.